Welcome to my channel. I'm Ivo, and today I want to actually talk to you about why we should not be leasing a Tesla ever. We should always pay in cash. I want to walk you through the concept of depreciation of general cars and assets, through the depreciation of Tesla cars, and then explain to you how and why we should use financing and paying cash for our Tesla instead of leasing it. So I hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned. Please comment below if you agree or disagree. Please like this video and let's go. So let's start talking about, first of all, about depreciation. What is depreciation? Depreciation. It's an important concept that needs to be really clear for everyone who wants to buy an asset. And I'm not talking only about cars, I'm talking about real estate, everything else. In real estate specifically, this is actually something good because it's used by the tax authorities to actually lower your taxes in many countries. So keep in mind, this is not always negative. It's actually seen as positive, especially if you're using it from, for your business, for tax purposes and so on. But let's focus on cars for a second. So how does depreciation work with cars, and why it's smart to actually buy a car which is 1.5 to 2 years old and not a new one? Well, let's look at this, right? So let's just imagine this is time, this is value, the car value, and let's just say you're buying your car at this point here, for 30,000 euros. So this is your 30,000 euros new car. And what usually happens is at the moment when you leave the car dealership, your depreciation starts going down very steeply, and then it flattens after a while, many years, and then it goes down again. Usually, this first period is within, let's say, 6 months to 12 months. So first year, then this is your second year, this is your third year, this is your fourth year, and then probably fifth year, and so on. So what usually happens is when you get a completely new car, the value of that car goes down probably around, let's say 20% at the moment when you leave your dealership. And this is important to know, because usually those kind of assets, they're used. So at the point of time when you start using your car, the values start depreciating, because anyone who wants to buy a new car is not going to buy your new car even if you have only 100 kilometers on the clock. He is going, or she is going, to go and buy a new car. So the value of your car goes down steeply until it hits a point, maybe around 1 year, when the depreciation starts to slow down. Now, usually people, what would they do? People would actually search for cars around 1.5 years old that are not used a lot, and they are going to look at this time frame. So between 1 year and 4 years. So you can essentially get a car which is 1 year old at this point of time, not used a lot, for 20% cheaper. So that's the reason why people are, searching for good deals, barely used cars. They lose a lot of value, so you're actually avoiding this sharp decline of depreciation, and you're obtaining your asset here. So it's a smart idea, in general, to buy a car which is used for 1 year or 1.5 years with not many kilometers on the clock, because it still has warranty, it still has, all the nice features, and it's a completely new car, right? I mean, you don't really see the difference between a new and a used one. So it's a great idea to actually focus your effort between 1 year and 4-year-old cars. Usually this is what I would do. I would look at 1 to 2 years and then use the car up to probably 3-4 years, and they try to sell it. Usually speaking, this decline between 1 year and 4 year is around 15%. So this is even less than the first decline of 20% here. So see what I'm talking about. You're using 20% in about 6 to 12 months, and then you're losing 15% or 20% maximum from 1 year to 4 years. It always depends on which car we're talking about, the market and the conditions on the market, but I would say, as a rule of thumb, this is what happens when you're buying a car. So be careful. Don't use all your cash to buy something here, a car here, and then see it value decline very quickly. Now, how does this work with Tesla, right? Tesla is a little bit different. I would say Tesla, if you draw the same chart here, this is your time, this is your value. With Tesla, usually what happens is, and I'm going to use the example of 2022 and beginning of 2023, the market conditions now, because these can change. So please keep in mind, don't take it as a, as general rule. Things can change in the market, and, the the way that this works might be different in the future. So let's assume we buy the Tesla. I bought my Tesla for 44,000 euros before any governmental incentives, before any kind of deductions that I did. So this is the list price. Now, what happened in 2022, actually, you would see if you have this delivered, let's assume in February this year, in 2022, many times you would actually see an increase of value and the depreciation curve. Why? Because deliveries were very difficult. The supply chain worldwide had problems. So many people who got their cars and they were completely new, they could sell it. They could sell them for a premium. And this is where your premium lies. Now, more and more, I see this premium going down because now the supply chain is working well and Tesla can actually deliver more and more cars. So usually what happens is you would see a flattening curve. So this would be your curve on Tesla, and then there would be a slow depreciation. Now, why is this depreciation not so steep? Well, there are several reasons. First of all, battery technology has improved massively. So a battery can actually last up to 500,000 kilometers. This is a lot of kilometers. If you think about it, like you can use your Tesla for probably 10, 12 years. And if you search on YouTube and Google it, you can probably see a lot of people using their Moto S's and Moto X's for, even more than that. So this is why actually Tesla is seen as, a car that keeps its value because the battery is actually pretty good. And that's why the curve is pretty stable. The second reason is demand, right? Demand for Teslas is always pretty high. Now we've seen, a massive spike during COVID and, after, but in general, even if it declines a little bit now because of the macroeconomic challenges and the, war in Ukraine, we will see demand and more demand coming in. I mean, think about it. Like there is the Cybertruck coming in. There is the new Tesla Model 3 with the redesign. There is the new Model S and X. So there's a lot of innovation happening with Tesla, so demand is pretty high. So when demand is high and supply is kind of limited because they cannot really produce as many cars as they want, they have restriction on their, resources and supply chain, so they cannot really meet the demand. When this happens, what usually happens in the market is you have a pretty stable depreciation curve because there are a lot of people who would buy your car even if it's not very new. They would buy it for almost the same price because they don't want to wait until their reservation comes in, which might take 6 to 12 months. I personally waited 11 months to get my car, so keep that in mind. It's another reason why the curve is not so steep. So what usually happens here is, if this is your year 1, this is your year 2, this is your year 3, and this is your year 4 plus. So what I would do, and I would recommend people doing, is you buy your car, preferably new, you drive it for probably around 2 years, and at this point you want to sell it. Why do you want to sell it? There are several reasons. First reason is there would be a new model very likely coming out. So Teslas are notorious for, their software updates, and that's true. However, the problem is after a while, the hardware gets updated as well. So you want to obtain the new model because it's going to have a new hardware. And I'll give you an example. It's going to have new cameras, new sensors. It's going to probably have a new design. I think Model 3 is now getting a new design in 2024. So after 2 years of driving your new Tesla, I would say time to sell, because also your price that you're going to get from the market for that used model is going to be pretty good. So consider doing that. Then Another reason why you want to do it is because the depreciation starts accelerating. So you want to make sure that you obtain the maximum value for that asset as quick as possible. So this is why I think it's important to actually understand how depreciation works for Teslas. But here's the last explanation why I think you should actually buy Tesla cash. Why is this a good idea? You know, specifically talking about depreciation, you just saw there's a pretty high depreciation. Some cars, Tesla is pretty flat, but this is not the only reason why you want to buy a Tesla cash, right? So let's just use two examples. Now I'll use another color just to make sure that you can see the difference. So this is your cash car, and this is your lease. So what usually happens is, and I'm gonna use you know, an example. Let's say your car costs 50K, can be euros or dollars, doesn't matter. So what usually happens is your price that you pay, you can either pay it cash fully, and you take the car, you take all the documents, or you can lease it. And usually what happens with lease, you have a down payment, right? So that down payment can be up to, let's assume it's 10K, right? Can go above, but like, let's just assume it's 10K. So here you've paid for your car, you get your car. You get your car directly. So you don't have to do anything. I mean, you're actually paying cash, so car is yours. Now, let's look at the lease, right? So if you pay a down payment of 10K, then essentially what you have is repayment, right? So your repayment, let's assume it's 500 euros or dollars a month. Let's say that your lease duration, it's around 3 years, so this is 36 months. 36 months. So quick calculation shows that in 36 months, if you're paying 500 euros, you're gonna be paying 18,000 euros, dollars. So you just paid 18,000 euros or dollars during the duration of your lease, if we assume a 500 euro or dollars payment on a monthly basis, right? But then you paid also your down payment, so you have 10 more. This is your total cost, assuming that, you know, interest is included in the 500 euros and dollars, just to make it simple, right? So now your total cost is 28,000 euros or dollars, right? So this is the amount that you have paid Tesla to actually use the vehicle for 36 months. Now, what happens here is many people say, well, yeah, I mean, I'm fine with this because I'm paying a small amount every month, you know, and time value of money. Essentially, with the inflation, this is actually all right, because you're not paying everything up front. You're paying it based on, you know, a certain schedule. Now, I would say yes, this is probably the best idea if you have the option of buying the car after your lease duration is over. But here's the detail: Tesla doesn't allow. Tesla does not allow to buy the car. You cannot buy your car after you've paid the 28K. And if we do a quick calculation, just continue it here on the side, and say it just costed for 50K, right? So minus 10 and minus 18. What is the leftover of this car? Well, the leftover of this car would be 22, right? So theoretically, Tesla should be able to give you this car, so, you know, buy the car after the lease duration is over, if you pay another 22,000 euros or dollars. Well, here's the problem. The depreciation, which we reviewed just now, in this chart here, shows you that the rest value of your car after driving for 3 years is actually much higher than the 22,000 that usually Tesla should ask you to pay to actually get the car. So what does that mean? When Tesla doesn't allow you to buy the car, you actually need to return the car, and Tesla will very likely sell that car for much more money. Let's just take an example, 30K. So Tesla is making a profit of 8K because you return the car and because of the depreciation of Teslas in general being very, very slow. So what I want to tell you is, instead of doing this whole leasing thing and then losing 28,000, after 3 years, because all this money are gone, you're not going to get, a penny out of them. And then you're actually not getting, the car. You don't have the chance of buying the car cheaply. So what I would say always, make sure that you buy the car cash, even if you take a loan. This is better because there are several advantages. First, you can sell it whenever you want. You're actually owning the car, so you can sell it whenever you want. The second big benefit is you can profit and return some investment. So you're not really losing the 28,000. If you're selling the car, you would probably retrieve a portion of the value of the car because the depreciation is pretty slow, right? And overall, you have much more freedom if you finance it through a bank and then pay it cash for Tesla instead doing a lease, right? So please consider this. This is why I actually paid my car cash, because I want to use the benefits of being able to sell it whenever I want. I can, return some of the value once I sell it, but also I can enjoy it without thinking about, future financial obligations. So please consider this when you're buying your Tesla. Please like this video. Comment below if you agree with me or disagree, and like it as well, so you can help me with the YouTube algorithm. Thank you very much.